Hi, I'm Reese. I was the producer and director for the short film, The Pit. So this was pretty much born from the idea of the fact that I was in university and I was doing the filmmaking degree, and I was surrounded by other peers and other students who were doing courses and degrees that were all relevant elements to creating a film, such as set design and theatre production, other filmmakers. Just every element to making a film was available as resources in this learning environment. So it felt to me as a no-brainer to not only collaborate with other filmmakers, but to also expand into other departments to bring all this talent together and create a short film. I think big influences for this film in particular were films like the original Alien film by Ridley Scott, because I went with the idea of it being a one protagonist and one creature or antagonist for this story, and that keeps it nice and simple, and that way you don't need as big as a cast. And in terms of production design, I looked up pretty much everything that Guillermo del Toro has created, such as Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, and his more recent series, Cabinet of Curiosities, because pretty much in every one of his stories there is some kind of monster that is usually mostly practical effects or a costume and not just a CGI thing. That way there's more of a connection between that monster and the actor. The actor has something to look at in the space that they're in and the lighting that they're in. I'm a big fan of, because my comfort zone is more into pre-production and design and the art department, I looked at a lot of directors who have a similar passion in that side of things as well. I think this is still stemming from the idea of wanting to collaborate with other people as well. You know, I recognize when they have a real specialism and a real passion for what they do, so I wanted to sort of create a dream team. I mean, I enjoy camera work myself. I haven't done much of it compared to some of my peers or some of the people I worked alongside in the pit. I prefer to be the guy behind the camera. I enjoy being part of a crew or forming a crew and letting everybody bounce ideas and feedback at me, even at every stage, even on the day of shooting. Being a producer allows you to be involved in every aspect of each stage of filming, all the way from writing all the way into post-production, in a sense. And on the day of shooting, it felt like the results of everything that I had organized and planned for was coming together. Not always in how I'd hoped it would be, but you got to make sure the people that you surround yourself with are good at what they do and can also offer help if challenges arise. You know, they offer their feedback and chip in for other roles beyond what they initially signed up for. I would still consider pre-production still my comfort zone because of my art background, but I like the position of producer-director in that I enjoy recognizing people's specialisms and bringing it all together into one big project.
Hi, my name is Kai Vill and I was a camera operator on The Pit. I also helped as a first assistant camera when necessary. It was a very interesting project because we had quite a small group of people working on it, so there was a lot of overlap. This helped when we had people that haven't really found their place yet, so they got to try out different roles. It was really interesting watching that and like finding people like change halfway through a shoot, like, oh, I like doing this more, I like doing that, and then we'd cater to that. That was really fun. I really enjoyed how close we worked with different members. Like, I got to work very closely with our director of photography and with our director, especially before the shoot when we were doing pre-visualizations. I got to know the director very well and we were able to really get under what he wanted. When I was working on set with our DP, it was really nice because he had a lot of experience working in industry and as a sole trader, as a freelancer, and where that's something I want to do, I was able to pick up on little things that he did, and that really helped me develop my own skills. So working alongside Tom was a really interesting experience because I was working with a new camera system that I'd never worked with before that he was very familiar with. So I was able to really get a lot of information from him as well as do my job. I was also able to work as an assistant camera and a camera operator, do both jobs, because working with these cameras, they're quite heavy and they can be quite tiring. So when our DP got tired, I was able to take over because we had that trust between us, which was really nice, and I don't think I would have had it if we had a larger group. So working with a large format cine camera on this shoot was particularly hard because of the location we were shooting in, where we're in an area without much energy, without access to battery, low light conditions. We're very stretched for what we're able to do. So it was quite a nice challenge working with the DP and working with our timing throughout the day on how we were going to get around this problem. I found it to be a really thought-provoking experience because I found myself constantly thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? How are we going to sort this out? How are we going to get this next shot? We had to do a lot of light painting on our set with where we were placing stuff, how we were able to shoot things. It was a very individual experience, I'd say. When you've got such a big format camera, getting that into the weird angles that are necessary for a horror film on a zero budget is especially, I'd say, quite innovative, because there were some strange placements going on. So when I normally work on a production, I tend to sway towards the camera sides. I always like to get to know the director and what they want out of the project, because at the end of the day, that's what you're here to give, is the visuals to their story, to their idea. What I like to do is really get inside the head of the director, get that story sort of side and fully understand it, and then from there we can work together and sort of find out how's best to convey that, if there's a certain shot type that they're really wanting. It was an individual experience depending on who you're working with and obviously the size of the crew. On The Pit, it was a small crew, so we got to know each other quite well. On bigger projects that I've done in the past, it's a thing of you take whatever small time you do have outside of shoots and really try and get to know the rest of the production. And then from there, it's just a thing of when you're on set, making sure that you've done all of the work prior in order to really fulfill that shot, that idea that the director wants.
My name is Johan O'Neill, and I was playing the role of Andrew Davies.
I'm Don Parker, and I was playing the role of the Wendigo.
I'm James Makepeace, and I was playing Lewis Pritchard. Probably it was the first time I'd been in what you would consider a proper film set. So it was definitely a really great experience in that regard. Because you were in the independent project last year, and that was because mine was filmed in the green screen.
Just in here, right, yeah.
But yours was more...
Yeah, on a location. So I'd experienced that before, but it was definitely a great working environment. And everyone was chill and great to work with and friendly and helpful. So
definitely, it was a really fun experience. The location as well was amazing. Not every day you can say you've been down a mine.
And the people at Dolaucothi, the workers there were also really helpful and generous.
And the fact that it was for free as well. We didn't have to pay anything is a big bonus. Should we shout out the National Trust?
Shout out
big
National
shout
Trust,
out
man.
National Trust.
Big up National Trust, yeah.
I definitely recommend going to visit the location. And it's in Wales as well, so it's great promotion for them.
So we shot this in the Dolaucothi Gold Mines in South Wales, and it was very easy in the way of the National Trust, and the people that we were working with were so helpful. Working in a mine to make a film is always going to be a problem, but they made it as easy as possible for us, and they were very accommodating. It was awesome being able to shoot in that location, because without it, it would have been so much harder to create the atmosphere and the tone that was necessary to make this project work. Being in an actual mine underground with your actors in the dark, it really adds to the believability of the project, and without that location, we would have a completely different film.
Well, a lot of the preparation and research was physical research, like watching stretching programs and tutorials. Like a lot of the movements, at first, I would find myself cramming up and aching, so I really had to focus on stretching, like every day, to increase mobility. And watching yoga videos and like types of different animal movements, and trying that in a room and trying different movements and patterns, and seeing what works, seeing what felt right, seeing if I felt like a Wendigo. The most difficult aspect of the costume was for sure the mask, because of visibility as well. It just made it so much harder to breathe, and because they're very physical movements.
And I suppose the work you had to do to make sure that whatever you were doing behind the mask was kind of conveyed through your whole body.
So The Pit was my first large-scale horror. I've loved seeing how at this level we connote feelings of fear and how to direct actors in that scenario. We had a lot of intermittent shots in between our scenes of dialogue where we needed to get chases, we needed to have like small intimate moments with our protagonist, and with that we were able to riff, we were able to improvise and just get some really natural stuff which you wouldn't be able to do on a large scale production, and you definitely wouldn't be able to do outside of that location. So I loved being able to do that. Contrastingly, if I were to do it again, a bigger crew would be helpful because we did struggle. We didn't have like a main first AD on set, so there was issues with timekeeping, and maybe we would go over a little bit. It's the swings and roundabouts. There's always going to be issues with having a small crew, but you need a bigger crew sometimes.
After all the development and preparation before the shoots, and it transpired we ended up filming everything at Dolaucothi instead of partly at Big Pit, partly at Dolaucothi. And I'm glad that it did, because it was a great location. The staff there were very accommodating, and everything that we initially needed at Big Pit, Dolaucothi had for us. And though on both days we were down a certain number of crew members, we still adapted on the spot. Some other people commented, and I agree. I don't think that any minute of time was wasted at all. Day one carried over longer than we meant to, so therefore the site staff at Dolaucothi were waiting around for us. So for the sake of keeping a good rapport with them, because we still had another day, we swore that we wouldn't carry over on the next day. You know, we picked up what we didn't get on the first day on day two, and likewise, despite not getting everything in on day two, we were allowed to have a third pickup day, which didn't need to be as big as the first 2 days. So I only needed a skeleton crew and only 2 of the actors. I would have stuck with Dolaucothi from the get-go rather than have a logistical nightmare of bouncing from multiple locations again and again, or losing a location altogether. I would have structured a better call sheet for each day, just so that it turns into gospel and you're not just continuing on a whim on the day. You should have the call sheet at hand all the time, or have somebody that is always looking at the call sheet and making sure everything is on schedule. If I were to do it differently again, I would have started I would have done a lot more pre-production a lot earlier, such as creating the costume. I think the costume could have been something really extravagant had we done it across 6 months or 5 months rather than 3. I would have certainly done the script a lot earlier, and also the script would have been more sound if I had stuck with the same location from the beginning, because I kept changing it based on the location. But despite all that, I'm very, very pleased with the outcome of the pit as a whole and the footage that we captured. And I think it's going to be spectacular.